Hello and welcome to the viewers of this video. This is the Orange Fan here, bringing you another entry for the episode Recap and Thoughts category. This video will be dedicated to episode 19 of Young Justice, Misplaced. We begin this episode on Roanoke Island on November 5th, where Klarion the Witch Boy and his cat Teakle have arrived. Klarion has a gem with him, and he places the gem on the ground, which causes a symbol to appear. He then summons 4 other magic users: Wotan, Blackbriar Thorn, Felix Faust, and Wizard. They all begin to chant a spell, and they repeat this chant over and over again. We then cut to Mount Justice, where we see the Unjustice team, Batman, Red Tornado, and Zatanna, are all working together to unload some supplies. Zatanna has also stopped by for a visit. Artemis is hoping this means Zatanna will get to join the Unjustice team, but Zatanna admits she's not entirely sure if that will be possible because she says that her dad can be very overprotective. She admits that she wishes her dad would give her some space sometimes, but then suddenly the Justice League members disappear. And on Roanoke Island, we see it's not just the Justice League members, but the 4 magic users Klarion summoned have also disappeared. In Fawcett City, Billy Batson's Uncle Dudley has disappeared, and he notices, looking outside the window, that all the adults have disappeared, and on the TV screen, the adults on the news have disappeared as well. So Billy is hesitant to transform into Captain Marvel because he fears that he will disappear because Captain Marvel has an adult body. So he decides that it's up to his kid self to solve this current crisis. At Mount Justice, we see that the Unjustice team and Zatanna have also found out about all of the adults disappearing. And this is because they're checking message boards and hearing what kids have to say on these message boards. It turns out everyone who's 18 years old and older are the ones that are considered adults and thus have disappeared. And Zatanna comments that's a very powerful spell. Performing that sort of spell is a very powerful spell. And Robin thinks that their best chance is to find the source of this spell. So he questions if Zatanna can use the locator spell that her dad has used in the episode Revelation. So in universe, that was a month ago, where he tracked down the location of the Injustice League's lair with a locator spell. Zatanna admits that it's a very advanced spell and that it's not just about the words, but it will take a lot of practice. But seeing that it is their only hope in order to find where the spell is coming from, Zatanna proceeds to practice as much as she needs to practice before she's ready to try the locator spell out. So we see other members of the Unjustice team are going around finding kids, and most of them we do at least see them at Happy Harbor High School. That's being used as a gathering place for all the kids. And the Unjustice team members are trying to take care of the younger kids there while this is going on. And we see Billy Batson is trying to use the Zeta Beam technology to get to any location that's for the Justice League, any Justice League related locations, but the Zeta Beam technology doesn't recognize him in his Billy Batson form, even when he uses the proper commands that Captain Marvel would use. So Billy figures out he needs to figure a different way to go about solving this crisis. But then all of the TV screens, all of the smartphones, and pretty much all technological devices have Robin, Aqualad, and Kid Flash on them. And they're all relaying a message to the kids not to panic in this crisis and that they will figure out a way to get the adults back, and urging the older kids to take care of the younger kids. Billy happens to see this message, so he sees that he can go to the Unjustice team to help regarding this crisis. So he heads off to Lucky for him, he's able to find someone at a nearby airbase or a plane or an airport or a place where planes are, and he finds that there is a kid present or a teenager present, Amber Joyce, and she does have her pilot license. So Billy manages to convince Amber to take him to Happy Harbor by plane. And otherwise, back at Mount Justice, Kid Flash and Aqualad are talking to each other about if they're desperate enough to use the Helmet of Fate, because both of them have used the Helmet of Fate before in the past, but they also recognize that Nabu might not be so willing to let go of whoever puts on the helmet. They were lucky, but who knows if the next person to put on the helmet will be as lucky as they were. And Zatanna arrives to tell them that she was able to cast the locator spell and was able to find out that the source is coming from Roanoke Island. Back with Billy and Amber on the plane, they're almost to Happy Harbor, and Amber tells Billy that they'll be there a little after midnight, and November 6th happens to be her birthday. Billy's about to question her about how old she will be, but then she disappears, confirming that Amber is now 18 years old as of November 6th. So Billy is stuck in a plane with no pilot. But then we go back in time a little bit before the spell was cast, and we actually get to see things from the adult's point of view. Batman is hoping that Zatara might allow Zatanna to join the Young Justice team, but Zatara admits he's not entirely sure if he's willing to. But then the kids are the ones who disappear. And we do see this happening in other locations as well. It's the kids that are disappearing rather than the adults. And the adults are reporting about this strange crisis. But in Gotham City, we see that Sportsmaster and Riddler have taken advantage of this chaos. Sportsmaster is leading a riot of parents, and he takes advantage of their confusion and anger by heading to the Star Labs facility in Gotham City, saying that the scientists there must know more about this than they're letting on, or that the scientists themselves may be guilty of the reason why the kids have disappeared. And he sneaks off when the parents continue on with the riot. Commissioner James Gordon and the Gotham police have to keep the rioters in check. While they're doing this, Riddler, disguised as a scientist, leaves the Star Labs facility, and he gets into a vehicle with Sportsmaster, and they drive off with something from Star Labs. In the cave, Batman and Zatara are talking about if they're desperate enough to use the Helmet of Fate. And Zatara also mentions that he was able to use the locator spell to find the sources from Roanoke Island. They also talk about how the rest of the Justice League are taking care of other things relating to this current crisis in different parts of the world. So Batman, Zatara, and Red Tornado are the ones who have to go to Roanoke Island to solve this crisis. They also make a point to mention that Captain Marvel is the one Justice League member who's missing. So then we cut ahead back forward in time to just past November 6th, just past midnight, where Billy is in the plane with no pilot. He realizes he has no other choice but to transform into Captain Marvel, but when he does so, he didn't disappear, but the plane did. So Captain Marvel sees Amber is still falling in the sky, and he manages to rescue her. He then heads to the cave, but he finds Justice League members there rather than the Young Justice team. He hugs them in relief that they're all right, thinking that the crisis has passed over. But when Zatara is about to yell at Captain Marvel, Batman stops Zatara and questions Captain Marvel where he's been. And Captain Marvel admits he's been in a realm with no adults. And so this is where they figure out that it's not so much that everyone is disappearing, but rather that it's been split into two realms, a kid realm and an adult realm. And Zatara is baffled that Captain Marvel can apparently travel between these two realms. Captain Marvel is confident that he can, and he transforms back into Billy Batson, which places him in front of the Young Justice team. Billy urges Miss Martian to read his mind, and she does so and confirms that he is Captain Marvel. But Kid Flash doesn't believe Billy's thoughts, saying that any kid could think that they are a certain individual. But then Billy brings up the time when Captain Marvel gave Kid Flash food and beverages in the episode Humanity, and Kid Flash and any other members of the Young Justice team and Zatanna who doubt Billy's words now believe him that he is Captain Marvel. Thanks to his ability to transform between an adult and a kid, Captain Marvel, aka Billy Batson, switches between both identities to relay information to both the Justice League members present and the Young Justice team and Zatanna. They agree to perform a coordinate attack, where they'll both attack from the two realms, the villains responsible for this spell, and hoping that defeating the villains will lead to the spell being undone. And we see that's exactly what they plan to do. The Young Justice team and Zatanna attack Klarion in the Kid realm, while the Justice League members present, Batman, Red Tornado, and Zatara, attack the other magic users in the adult realm, all on Roanoke Island. Captain Marvel is there, but he switches between both realms in order to relay any important information to the two groups. And Klarion, though, he's prepared to deal with the Young Justice team, and even Zatanna's magic doesn't give them much of an advantage because Klarion dismisses Zatanna's magic as baby magic. And as for Tikal, his pet cat, because Kid Flash remembers attacking Tikal can harm Klarion, or at least boot him out of the physical realm, but Klarion is prepared, and he has Tikal in a more powerful, bigger form to attack as well, so they can't just attack Tikal. And in the adult realm, Zatara figures out that the gem is the source of the spell, and he tells Captain Marvel to relay this to the Young Justice team and Zatanna. So Captain Marvel transforms into Billy Batson to relay the message, and Miss Martian hooks him up on the psychic link so he can tell them telepathically rather than say it out loud. And he proceeds to do so. Zatanna realizes that they have become desperate enough. They have no other choice. So she summons the Helmet of Fate, and she dons it to allow Nabu to possess her so Dr. Fate can be summoned. Although, while Dr. Fate is helping the Young Justice team out, it's not a complete advantage because due to the fact that it's been split into a kid realm and an adult realm, Dr. Fate can't maintain... Dr. Fate's presence can't be maintained with the two realms, or at least it's harder to maintain presence because of these divided realms. But Dr. Fate manages to maintain presence long enough to do what needs to be done. And Billy Batson transforms back into Captain Marvel to head back to the adult realm to let Zatara know that Zatanna has put on the Helmet of Fate. So Kid Flash in the kid realm and Captain Marvel in the adult realm both grab the gem, and they give it to their respective magic-using teammates, who simultaneously cast a spell that causes the two realms to become one realm once again. And Klarion takes the defeat rather well, and he escapes, and Dr. Fate comments that being chaos personified, Klarion cannot truly be contained. Zatara goes to Dr. Fate, requesting that Zatanna be freed from the Helmet of Fate, but Nabu refuses to do so, saying that Clarion's recent actions prove that Dr. Fate is needed in the world, and that Zatanna's natural affinity for magic makes her an ideal host for Dr. Fate. Kid Flash points out that Kent Nelson would not approve of this, and Nabu says that he's right. Kent Nelson didn't approve of Zatanna being the host for the Helmet of Fate. But Nabu has grown tired of Kent constantly talking him out of having a host, so he sent Kent Nelson's spirit to the afterlife. But Zatara is still unwilling to let his daughter lose the chance to have her own life, so he makes the ultimate sacrifice that a parent could make for their offspring. He tells Nabu that he's willing to be Nabu's host as Dr. Fate, pointing out that he's an adult, which means he's much stronger with his magical abilities, and that his magical abilities are at their peak, and saying that he's also able to maintain or he can sustain Dr. Fate's presence as a host much better. Nabu concedes that these are valid points, but he questions how he'll be certain that Zatara will go through with this and not just not go through with this after Zatanna takes off the helmet. Zatara says he gives his words, and he casts a spell which I presume is meant to ensure that he will put on the helmet. Nabu is satisfied with this, so he allows Zatanna to remove the helmet, and he also allows Zatara a chance to say his goodbyes. Zatara tells his daughter that he loves her, and he requests to Batman that Batman watch over Zatanna for him, since he won't be able to do so anymore. Batman gives his old friend his word, and satisfied that Zatanna is in good hands, Zatara agrees to put on the helmet, or he proceeds to put on the helmet, and so he becomes the new host for Nabu and the new Dr. Fate. And so Dr. Fate goes to take care of the other magic users still around, the magic user villains that are still present. And we do see that many members of the Unjustice team and Billy Batson reuniting with the adults that are important in their lives, their family members. And it's now November 7th, and some of the Unjustice team members are helping Zatanna bring her belongings into her new room. She has officially joined the Unjustice team. Zatanna, though, says that she wants some time to herself, and the Unjustice team members present understand, and they proceed to leave so that Zatanna can have time to herself. But now that she's alone in her new room, Zatanna proceeds to cry, knowing that she's lost her father, in a way. In an unspecified location, the Light are communicating with each other through video chat, and Klarion admits that even though his plan ended up being stopped, it still was successful, and Brain agrees with this, saying that because of Clarion's chaos, no one would notice that something important is missing. Sportsmaster and Riddler arrive, and they reveal what it is that Riddler took from the Star Labs facility in Gotham City. It's the piece of Starro, the creature that was frozen in ice in Atlantis back in Downtime, and they have it in their possession, and it's very important for their plans, and that's how we end the episode. Now, this episode marks the moment where Zatanna officially joins the Unjustice team, but it came at a great price because her father Zatara has now become the new host for Nabu, and thus the new Dr. Fate. It's slightly different from what happened in the main DC comics, where Zatara simply passed away, and that's why Zatanna became the Justice League, or the DC Heroes' official magic user. So this is a slightly different approach. Zatara is spared, but in a way you could make the argument that he has a fate worse than death, pardon the pun. Otherwise, I really liked Captain Marvel's role in this episode. The fact that he can switch between an adult and a kid, and thus switch between the two realms, was a great way for him to play a big role, since he was, I guess you could call him the middleman who coordinated the attacks that both heroic groups did against the villains responsible for the spell. So I thought that was pretty cool. And we see that this whole thing was actually a big distraction for what the Light really wanted, the piece of Starro that was being studied. And that's all we really had to say for episode 19 of Young Justice, but we've now discussed it on this channel. Take care, and until next time.